The universe travels the path of entropy. The only way forward is chaos. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to episode 7? What are we, 7? Yeah, we're 7. I think, yeah, it's 7. We're definitely episode 7 of the Draco build. Oh, this gets so confusing now that I'm doing the Chaos Daily, because I've got to count, you see, and counting is hard. And yeah. Anyways, we have an interesting episode. I always make interesting episodes. What am I talking about? I should just say we have an episode, and you should just assume that it's going to be interesting, because they're always going to be interesting, right? Alright, anyways. So, I want to talk about the Draco. Specifically, offering the files for sale, because I've had a number of comments, like this one, or like this one, or this one. There have been comments, and then there's been a handful of other comments left on Twitter on posts that I've made that I really cannot get the motivation up to go find, because it's Twitter, and searching for stuff on Twitter is a nightmare. Anyways, I want to talk about what will entail purchasing the Draco. I am absolutely pro selling the Draco files for other people to print their own, right? I'm not against it. I really want to do that. I think it's a great idea. There are a couple of things to consider, though. It will not be cheap. Like Jotham mentioned in this comment, there is a consideration to make with sunk cost. So if this was just any other RC plane, a very simple design, quickly put together, like even that time, there's a lot of time and energy that goes into one of those. But compared to this project, it's not a comparison. So for one of those, then yeah, sure, you ignore the sunk cost of your time and labor of designing it and testing it, and you just put it up for a reasonable sale price for other people to build. The Draco is a different story. The level of detail, the level of work that's going into it, all that, I cannot justify putting the price lower than around $400 or $500. I will still decide on a price point depending on how much interest there is, but that interest needs to take a step back and think about it. Because at first glance, you're thinking, great, I can own a Draco. I can print my own. This is going to be awesome. This is fantastic. But what this video is about is showing you guys what that means. And what it means is a hell of a lot of work. So let's go have a look at what I've been doing in Inventor so I can demonstrate to you just what is involved with this project for 3D printing alone. Not to mention the cost of materials, cost of off-the-shelf parts, components. I'm designing mine specifically for certain components like the motor, the gear reduction setup. You might have the money to go out and purchase the motor to have direct drive, which would require a completely different front-end assembly. So there's a lot more involved with this kind of thing. Anyone who wants to purchase the Draco project files, I would be in contact with them. I don't expect to be selling a lot of these to people. So anyone who wants to purchase with them, there will be a dialogue between me and that person so that I can make alterations or changes needed for the components that they might be using. So you're not just purchasing files, you'll be purchasing a little bit of a setup service to make sure that the files are going to be what you need for your needs. So that's what that's about. But let's get into Inventor and let's just have a look at the scope of this kind of project so that some of you who think this is really cool and it's a really cool plan, I'd love to have one, can take a moment and go, oh shit, wow, that's a lot of work. So let's have a look. So, you want to build your own Draco, and I totally get it. I'm doing it because I want to build a Draco, right? I get it. I'm with you. Are you crazy? That's the first question I'm going to ask you. Are you mad? Because I'm mad. I'm insane, right? This is a crazy project. I mean, just look at it. Like, it's awesome, sure, but you have to be crazy to take this on. This is a lot of work. This is not just like one of those simple print and assemble 3D planes. This is some serious work here. This is enthusiast level stuff, right? I mean, yeah, it's awesome, but there's a lot of work here. There's this much work. And counting. Like, this isn't even half of it. See all of this? This is my to-do list. I still have to chop up the fuselage, the front cowling. I still have to decide what I'm doing with the legs, whether I'm going to chop them up or if I'm going to, take the risk of doing a 40-hour-long print to print them, because this will fill the entire build volume of the Phenom. It'll just barely fit. One of these each at a time, that's 80 hours work just there. What I have here, each one of these is the build volume of the Phenom, right? It is 276 by 155 millimeters, right? That is what I can print. Now, I can condense this. I can, stick more parts with other parts. But you don't want to do that. Lower the number of prints you have to do by, including stuff with other stuff. But when something fails, it potentially fails the other thing next to it and destroys all your work. And then that's wasted resin and wasted time. So it sometimes works out better for you to just bite the bullet and print things individually. Now, I have a few things stacked together that I'm still not sure I want to stack together. Like, this is the leading edge slats for both wings on one build plate. That would be great if I can print them like that. But when I get my printer and I do my tests, I'll find out if that's possible or not. Because I might have to break that up. I might have to print them in a different orientation. All of the wings, like this front row of print beds, this is, aside from that, because that's the elevator, all of this front row is just the parts for the wings. That's 9 prints just to print the wings, and that's not including the flaps or the ailerons, which are over there. I still have to chop them up. The leading edge slats, all of the leading edge slats, struts or trusses that hold the leading edge slat to the front of the wing, the servo hatches, none of that's all extra. So you're already past 10 prints just for the wings. The tail section, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, probably print those two together, 4, and then we've got the rudder, here's 5, the elevator 6, here's more parts of the elevator 7, here's more parts of the rudder 8. So like this is a daunting amount of work for anyone. Sure, I'm totally for selling the print files for this plane, but are you ready to take on this project with me? Because that's the big question here. Is it going to be, are you willing to take on this much work? So I'm setting them at a high price. So the people who are serious about doing it will do it. They will pay the price for it. They will purchase it, because you have to be serious about this project. I'm being serious about this project. The level of detail I'm putting into it, the work and effort, the time, the energy. I don't want to be messing around, and I don't want other people to be messing around. This is a serious business. I just realized. So something else that needs to be considered for this project is this, right? The BOM, the bill of materials. Inventor is great because as you start assembling stuff and you add in components, it will give you a BOM, it'll give you a list. And yeah, just looking at the list of all the different screws, bearings, thrust bearings, going out and finding suppliers for all of these little things. And sometimes it's like one type of this screw and one type of that. You're going to have to purchase them in packs of 100 or stuff. So there's going to be a lot more sunk cost. I mean, for me, it's fine because I get extra components and parts that I can use for other projects in the future. But for somebody else that's only doing this one project maybe, then, they're ending up with extra equipment or hardware. It's not a simple task. There is a lot involved. Just all of the organization that's required for this is ridiculous. I mean, just look at this parts list. It just goes on and on. Oh. And then not only that, the off-the-shelf components like bearings and screws and stuff, you got all the carbon fiber. There are so many different types of carbon fiber tube and rod that I've used in this design, and specifically had to use them for structural reasons and dimensional constraints. So I couldn't just use a limited type of sizes so that I wouldn't have to have this crazy list. It's just, there's a lot, especially for the wing sparks. The 22mm carbon fiber tubes for the wings, 1,100 millimeters. On eBay, you can purchase 22mm tube for quite cheaply in 500mm lengths. Not good enough. You're going to have to join them in the middle. I don't know how well that's going to work. You're still going to be under the 100 meters though. So you're going to have to use 3 tubes plus a smaller diameter tube to join them just to get your 110 millimeters. It's not going to be worthwhile. I have found one supplier that will sell 1,500 millimeter tube. That's 1.5 meters. It is $50 for the tube, and then it's another $50 for the shipping. So all up, you're $100 for a single tube. Maybe they'll combine shipping, I don't know. I'm going to contact that seller and see if I can get a deal because I'm going to need those long tubes. They're the only ones that I've found that will do 22mm outside diameter tube at a long enough length so I can cut 110 centimeter lengths. So yeah, enough of that doom and gloom. Let's take a quick look at what I have been doing on the Draco. She's got windows. I mean, you saw it before. I showed you here. But yeah, I'm working on the fuselage section. And you can see there's the... I'm probably going to change all of this later. But yeah, so it's coming along, working on it some more. Now that the front end is done, the front end turned out really good. So good. So gorgeous. I'm just loving this project. As much work is still ahead of me, fully in love with this project. And I hope you guys are too. So there you go. Do you want to build a Draco? If you do, that is awesome. If you still want to build a Draco after what I just said, I have the utmost respect for you. And if you've decided against buying the Draco because of what I just said, I still have respect for you because you've made the logical decision to go, no, this is not for me. And that is, just don't want people thinking that this is an everybody's thing. This is not. The next project I do for an RC plane will be, I will design it simply, I will keep the scope of the design within certain parameters, and I will make it so that anyone can do it. And that's what that will be. This was not that. This Draco project was meant to be a flex. It was meant to be a way to show off. It was meant to be out there. It was meant to be over the top, just like the real Draco. And that's the spirit of this project, is going above and beyond, push the limits. And yeah, I hope I've captured not just the look of the Draco, but the spirit of the Draco in this project. And that's what I'm going for. So yeah, I've been Chaos, and as always, expect the unexpected. And I'll see you guys next time.
And a special thank you to all my patrons that help support the channel. If you would also like to support the channel, there's a link in the description.